Seiko are about to drop the best release for 2023, and I've got to review it before you can buy it. Sorry. Let's get into it. Yes, and welcome to the Mad Watch Collector Show. And what a show we've got for you today, because Seiko have released something quite special. The Seiko 5 was released in 1968, which means in 2023 it's their 55th anniversary. Now the 5 in Seiko 5 represent the key features in a Seiko 5. 1, it's an automatic watch. 2, it has a day-date display. 3, it's water resistant. 4, it has a recessed crown, and 5, it's got a durable case and bracelet. Anyway, to celebrate the fact that the Seiko 5 is 55, they've only gone and made a like-for-like copy from that very first model back in 1968, which was the 61-5D. This watch is a limited edition, but comes with a rather more affordable price tag. Now, a big thanks to Seiko. They were the ones that actually sent this watch in for me to review. This is the 29th of June, and the watch comes out on July the 1st. So I've had a little sneaky peek early. And spoiler alert, it's awesome. But not only is this release awesome, I've got a theory at the end of this show that could blow your mind. Especially if you like Seiko. Also at the end you'll hear my wife's first impressions of this watch. You won't want to miss that. Are you Seiko 5 ready? Let's go! So I don't do this often, but I've got to show you the box of this. Apparently this is very similar to the original box you would have got back in 1968. Anyway, open it up and look at this thing.
I can smell the 60s already.
What an absolute delight for someone like me who loves vintage inspired watches. The attention to detail on this watch is fantastic. Apart from a couple of small minor differences, this is in fact a like-for-like copy. And Seiko enthusiasts are gonna want this watch. Anyway, it's a stainless steel case, stainless steel bracelet. We've got a very small recessed crown at 4 o'clock. It isn't screwed in, but the case back is, and that gives this watch 100 meters of water resistance. I gotta say straight away, I love that pop of blue on the dial.
Sports.
And first impressions, I want one. Right, so we've got a 39.5 diameter case, 12.5 millimeter thick, 43 lug to lug, and a strapaholic lug width of 20 millimeters. The dimensions right in my and many others' wheelhouses. We've got a hardlex crystal protecting the dial. The bezel is awesome. We've got an aluminium insert, great coin edging. Remember, this is no dive watch, but we do have a lume pip at 12 o'clock. The bezel action is just friction based, but as friction based bezels go, it's pretty good. Far better than the Flightmaster, and far better than the Vostok Amphibia. Time to look at the face.
Dial time.
And it's absolutely magnificent, isn't it? A very fine, textured matte black dial. Awesome printed minute indices, really chunky. I love that look. Very finely silver framed white indices as well, filled with Lumabrite, no doubt. One of the 5 features with the Seiko 5 is a day-date display. Not usually one for day-date displays, but this is nicely done. Big silver frame round it, and the day-date wheel matches the dial color. That's brilliant. Now, the only thing different to this dial than the previous version back in 1968 is the text under that hand stack. Before, we had waterproof 70 meters and 25 joules. With the modern version, we have the word automatic followed by 24 joules and 10 bar. I love the printed 5 logo. Much prefer that to the Superman logo of the Seiko 5 now. And we cannot not talk about that lovely big shiny Rehawk. Reminds me of my SKXs and just makes you sink into that dial. It's a proper 60s and 70s baton style handset with a lovely pop of red with the lollipop seconds hand. Overall, it's a dial I completely love. It looks like a design that's 50 years old, but also looks modern too. Darn, those designers at Seiko were great, weren't they? So we've got lume on the hands, lume on the indices, and lume on the bezel pip. Out of 10, let's see how this puppy glows. So yes, LumaBright technology, pretty good. There aren't many places where there is Lume. After all, this is no dive watch. It's a do-it-all watch, and shine in the dark, it does. The bracelet, I do like. It is unusual. We have solid links that fit underneath this unique style case. Polishing on the sides, brushing on the top, double push button deploying. It is a pressed clasp, and okay, if it is a like-for-like copy and the clasp from 1968 was pressed, then that's fair enough. Only 2 micro adjusts, but the links are that tiny, I think you're going to get a good fit. It is your usual Seiko pin and collar system. Super! Operating this watch is a little fiddly. A key feature of a Seiko 5 is to have a recessed crown. Back in the day, this watch was marketed to someone that would only have one watch. The only time you would ever need to use it was when setting it for the first time. The old ones never had hacking or hand winding. The crown is so tiny, I can just about get my little fingers to turn the crown and to wind it. But to be honest, this design was made for a movement that you couldn't hand wind. And the only way of winding it was the old Seiko shuffle. Anyway, to pull it out, you need a good nail underneath it. Turning it away from you changes the day. Turn it towards you and you change the date. Pull the crown out to the last position. And unlike the old days, we can hack this movement, i.e. the second hand stops.
Hello.
On my 6.5-inch wrist, and this watch is wonderful. It's not been sized to my wrist because this is going back shortly, but the way the bracelet drops down from the case and conforms to the wrist, this will fit very comfortably indeed. Even though there aren't many colours to this watch, it definitely pops when you take it outside. Can you tell I'm a fan yet? So there you go, the SRPK17. I gotta say, I love everything about it. The last Seiko 5 I reviewed, I was left sad, disheartened, disillusioned. I'm still not quite on board with the fact that an SKX has been repurposed to be the new face of Seiko 5, and the price they first came out at £300, I thought was a little bit steep. With this watch, well, I'm totally the opposite. This is not a repurposed case. They stopped making this case over 40 years ago. So this is a new case, a new bracelet, but for £350, I really do think this is spot on.
Bravo, Seiko, bravo.
Yes, you've made a limited edition, but you've made it more affordable. But after all, Seiko 5s were meant to be affordable, and still £350 is a lot of money. But where you can find over 100 different references of the SKX shelled Seiko 5s, all in different colours and styles and bracelets and straps, there's only one of these, and you know what? I think this is going to sell out. Here it is, my wife's first impressions of the SRPK17. I really like this. A very vintage look, like from the 70s. It's given me jacuzzi vibes. Like the bracelet too. Yeah, good. This can only mean one thing. She's given me the all clear to buy it. So I'm just on the call to Seiko. Hello, Mr. Seiko?
Hello?
Yes. She said she likes it. So can you order one for me, please? Or I'll just keep this one. Win!
Could you just click that like button, please? It really helps the channel. Thank you.
Right, now listen, because I've got a theory. 2023 is the 55th anniversary of the Seiko 5 from 1968, right? Well, what happened in 1969, huh? Well, Seiko were the first brand to market the first automatic chronograph in the 6139. And to all Seiko watch nerds out there, it's known as something else, the Pogue. I've got one from 1972, but next year will be the 55th anniversary of the Pogue. Now, if Seiko have started making cases like this, surely we're gonna see a Pogue in 2024. If they make a reissue of the Pogue next year to celebrate the 55th anniversary of the first marketed automatic chronograph, you could only see their stocks rising. Thanks for watching till the end of this show, and if I've got you for a few more minutes, why don't you check this one out? This is sensational. This is best for viewer, so I'm not 100% sure what show it is, but it is done by me, isn't it? So it's gotta be good. Go on, click it. It's great. Click it. Click it. Come on. Click it.